Where's your gavel?
He doesn't need one. He just,
Got my, at home, I've got my grandfather's, I think it was Woodsman. Have you seen their tombstones? No. They are, aren't they though?
hey Spencer, tree trunk.
Hello. Right here?
Okay, I've got 6:01, so I will call this meeting to order. It's 6:01, and this is the February 19th, 2026 meeting of the Animal Services Advisory Committee, and we'll begin with a roll call. Dr. Metzler?
Present.
Present. Spencer is here. I'm here. Jose's here. Brianna is here. Judy. Laura will not be with us tonight. Julie is here. And Rick.
Here.
Okay, the first order of business that we have is approval of the minutes from our October 8th, 2025 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Joe, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Our next item of business is a shelter statistics and brief operations update. You know, one of the purposes, I think that when the state of Texas created the advisory boards and required cities to, with shelters to have those, was one of the things we were asked to do was look at the shelter statistics periodically and see how the shelter is doing in operations. So Jose, I want to turn it over to you.
All right. I do not currently have my readers with me, so we're going to have to do this real quick. Okay, so the end of the month descriptions or the yearly descriptions are broke up by shelter activities and field activities. So we're going to go over, the first one will be shelter activities. This is split up both by Blue Mound and by Saginaw. The first column will be Blue Mound totals. The second column will be Saginaw totals. And it's going to be right behind your red sleeve in your binder. So this will be September 2025's numbers. September 30th is the last day of our fiscal year. Our fiscal year goes from October 1st through September 30th. The year-to-date totals are going to be in that first column, and then last year-to-date totals will be in the second column. Okay, so impounded dogs in Blue Mound, we impounded 1. We did 31 in Saginaw. Impounded cats, we had 1 for the month of September and 39 in Saginaw. Impounded other would be wild animals or livestock. Took in 10 in Saginaw, 0 in Blue Mound. Animals euthanized for the month, we did 0 animals from Blue Mound and 7 from Saginaw. Animals returned to owner, 1 in Blue Mound, 9 in Saginaw. Animals registered, we did 2 in Blue Mound, we did 86 in Saginaw. Animals adopted, 3 for Blue Mound, and 16 for Saginaw. We did 0 quarantines in Blue Mound, we did 5 in Saginaw. 0 surrender by owners. That'll be owner releases coming into the shelter, whether they be to be placed up for adoption or owner surrender to euthanize. We had 9 in Saginaw. We had 1 animal from Blue Mound that was transferred to a rescue group, and 11 from Saginaw. No microchips in Blue Mound, 10 in Saginaw. Our microchips are actually classified by who issued them. So if Saginaw issues the microchip, then that's who gets the credit for the chip. And then TNVR, we did 21 in Saginaw, 0 in Blue Mound. So if you look at our year-to-date totals for 2025, we had 417 impounded on dogs, 417 impounded cats, 184 others. We did 137 animals euthanized, 133 returned to owners, 676 registrations, 230 adoptions. Yep. And then 33 quarantines for the year. We did 134 owner surrenders, 127 animals transferred to rescue groups, 109 animals microchipped for the year, and 171 TNVR. If you look at the year prior to that, you will see that the numbers actually went up. The year-to-date prior to that would be fiscal year 23-24. The numbers were 369 for dogs, 304 for cats, 151 others, 122 for animals euthanized, 116 animals returned to owners, 1,033 animals registered. Those numbers actually went down. 230 animals adopted, 19 animals quarantined, 132 surrendered by owners, 120 animals transferred to rescue group, 175 animals microchipped, and then 39 TNVR. So we're going to go to the field activities for 24-25. We had 5 animal at large calls in Blue Mound, 29 in Saginaw. We did 1 barking dog complaint in both cities for the month of September, 1 dead animal call in Blue Mound, 11 in Saginaw. We had 0 injured animals in Blue Mound, 7 in Saginaw. Did 26 spay or neuter follow-ups at the shelter. We did 4 PD assists call-outs in Saginaw. We did 1 animal cruelty investigation in Blue Mound. We had 2 cruelty calls here in Saginaw in the month of September. 17 trapped animals, 3 vicious dog complaints, 5 animal bite reports, and then 1 animal returned to owner in field and 2 in Saginaw. So last year's fiscal numbers were 711 animal at large calls, 18 barking dog complaints, 183 dead animals, 76 injured animals, 140 spay-neuter follow-ups, 91 PD call-outs and assists, 54 trapped animals. No, take that back. 54 animal cruelty investigations, 189 trapped animals, 47 vicious animal calls, 34 animal bite reports, and 46 animals returned to owner in field. The year prior to that was 571 for animal at large, 30 barking dogs, 140 dead animals, 48 injured animals, 10 spay-neuter follow-ups, 114 PD call-outs and assists, 36 for animal cruelty investigations, 93 trapped animals, 53 vicious animals, 14 animal bite reports, and 42 animals returned to owner in field. For the month of September, we issued 7 citations in Blue Mound. We did 4 in Saginaw, for a total of 487 citations issued last year between the 2 cities, and 474 for the year prior to that. We had 10 animals reported lost in Saginaw, 122 for the year between both cities and 143 the year prior.
Jose, could we stop here and see if anybody has any questions on these statistics? Anybody have any? I had just a couple. I wanted to ask, what is the spay neuter
Mr.
follow-up?
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, apologies for interrupting, just to make sure you,
I'm sorry, I had one follow-up question. What is a spay neuter follow-up? What does that consist of?
So our current ordinance has, if your animal is impounded at the city and it is not microchipped or sterilized prior to leaving the shelter, then we give them 30 days to comply with ordinance. If they do not comply, then we follow up to make sure that they have complied. If they don't, then citations are issued.
I see, okay. And that was, speaking of citations, that was my other question. I
Okay?
thought it was interesting that in that current month, you had 4 citations in Saginaw just for the month, but for the year, you had 487. So is there any reason that there were so many for the year?
So a lot of those are notice of violations. People are given notice of violations in the field. They're given 5 working days to comply with ordinance, register, and rabies vaccinations. If they don't, then citations are issued. So if they impound an animal and they're not in compliance with the return to owner, they can be issued citations. If they're adopted and they don't comply with the adoption policy, if the animal's sick or a kitten or a puppy when it leaves the shelter and it's not old enough to get sterilized, and they're given time to comply with that also.
Okay, I just thought it was interesting that, I just wondered if there's some season of the year, maybe the summer, a lot of them happen or something, or?
No, so citations are issued at the discretion of the ACO. So a lot of times they're issued based on warnings not being complied with. If you're a repeat offender and we handle calls with you all the time, then you're more than likely to get a citation first off the bat when we come out and deal with you.
I see. Thanks.
Just quick question. On the microchip,
Mm-hmm.
is that a database we keep, or is it a database nationally?
So on the microchips, when we issue a chip at the shelter, that information is placed into our shelter program, and then we physically register that chip with the national database. So if we had problems in the past where people wouldn't get their chips registered, so it would come back to us as the implant facility, and then other cities would have to call us, and we would have to go through our database to find that information. So now we take the middleman out and we go straight and register that chip. So anytime an animal's adopted, return to owner, or if they just come in and want a microchip, which we're doing free microchips now on Fridays for Saginaw residents, we actually register those chips with the database for Home Again.
That's great. Thank you.
Any other questions on the numbers so far? No? Okay. Let me take my picture of this so I can zoom in. Okay, so the first one we're going to go over is pound fees collected. This is pound fees that are collected at the shelter, which would be boarding fees, impound fees, microchips, registrations, heartworm testing, or vaccinations. Anytime an animal is adopted out, and if it's vaccinated for rabies or heartworm tested, then we add a $5 additional cost to the adoption fee so we can recoup that back into our donation account for spay and neuters. So the first one is going to be the pound fees collected. So for the month of September, we collected $2,330. For fiscal year 24-25, we collected $28,745 in pound fees. And in the year prior to that, we did $27,020 pound fees collected. Donations, this is going to be our ANSHE account. That is the account where if you make a donation into the water bill, utility billing donation, then that money goes into that account. That account was collected $2,451.46 for that year, or sorry, for that month. We took in for the year was 27,335.22. And then the year prior to that was $26,780.73. Volunteer hours, we had $384.25. Or, sorry, 384.25 hours of volunteer hours for the month of September. For the year, we did 4,275, and then the year prior to that was 2,727 hours.
Is there a reason why? Is there a reason why the volunteer hours increased so much last year? Anything you all did to encourage people or anything?
So our volunteers are hit or miss. We do have a lot of community service that comes to the shelter. So we keep tabs of their hours also, one for court and two because it's extra manpower that we're using at the shelter. So those hours are actually combined into the volunteer hours.
Anybody else have any questions on that? Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the next page, which is our spay-neuter balance. Our spay-neuter balance is actually a donation account. It's called ACLOW. It's for animal control low-cost spay and neuter costs. So any TNVR that we do, any adoption animals that we do, the ACLOW account is where that money comes from to pay for the spay-neuter medicals on that, and then that money is recouped at the time of the adoptions, okay? So the starting balance with that one was $13,005.27. We collected $1,080 out of that and turned around and spent $760 on medical, which left us with a balance of $13,325.27. Our actual animal control, the ANSHE, which was actually started when that shelter that we're currently in was built. That account had a previous balance of $69,522.06. We took in $2,451.46 out of that account. We didn't have any expenditures at that time. So the ending balance in that account was $71,973.52.
Jose, is one of these the 501c3 or is
No.
that separate? Okay, that's
The
separate.
501c3 account is kept separate.
Quick question, Jose, on the pound fees collected. Is that $28,745? Is that money that the city puts back into the animal shelter, like for vehicles or supplies or things?
I believe that money goes straight into the general fund. I believe. Is that correctly?
Lee, how long does one of your vehicles last?
We just replaced one that was a 2018 model, I believe, this past year,
I believe mine's a 2016.
2016.
So it's almost 10 years old.
So 2016 is yours, and
My
then-
truck.
so that means
And then
the other truck was
what
older.
we nicknamed the mini boat is older than mine.
Okay.
So Jose, this is just outsider suggestion, and Lee, I guess the question would go to you is, what do we have to do to convince the council to take this money on a yearly basis, bank it away for vehicles? Or any other thing that you need, Jose? I'm just making that one up.
Yeah, well, the council can approve expenditure of that money for any purpose for the animal shelter operation. So,
I mean, is
What can-
there a way from year to year with the city's budget that Jose, in the funds he collects, like for pound fees collected, that can be set aside year to year in order to replenish the vehicles, or whatever? I'm just making the vehicles up, but to replenish it so that, they don't have to come to the council and say, well, I need $100,000 for a vehicle.
Pound fees don't come out of ANSHE.
So the ANSHE E account that we have currently for donations, we set $8,000 a year out of that for emergency expenditures, okay? If it's one that doesn't meet their criteria where we have to get council approval, then we would automatically go in front of the council and say, hey, we've got an expenditure we need and this is how much we're wanting to spend, and then it would have to get approved by council. But if it's under a certain dollar amount, we don't have to have the council approval. So like 2 years ago, before we started the TNVR program, we bought 9 brand-new cat kennels for the simple fact that the ones we had originally were not the correct type. They weren't stainless steel, so we spent the full amount that we needed to get to pay for those kennels out of that ANSHE account. If I don't spend that money during the year and we need to buy microchips for the year coming up, then I will pay for the microchips out of that account. So,
And I'm just trying to find a way for the large expenses that, I mean, it's you and your team that's doing this. And without better words, is there a way to pigeonhole that? And I don't know. That's a I don't
Well,
know.
there could be, but the pigeonhole could be used for any, like you said, any emergencies. And that's generally where those funds go. So it'll be things that will be unbudgeted, in the not in the general fund, but they need. So like a couple of years ago, we had a large industrial laundry machine crash. So we could use some of that funds for that. We've had to make some other repairs to the actual shelter itself or to a vehicle. And the thing to remember too on the vehicles is that we don't replace a vehicle, obviously by the age of some of the ones that are in the fleet. We don't replace vehicles every year for the animal services. So it's on a case-by-case basis. The vehicle is, the condition of the vehicle, the mileage on it, its age, how many repairs what its repair history is, all of those things kind of go into an assessment of whether or not a vehicle is really eligible to be replaced or not at any given time.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I was just trying to find a way.
I think that's, worthy thing that you brought up, so, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Any other questions for Jose before we move on to the next item?
Thank you, Jose.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Lee is going to give us an update on the action that the city council took regarding the bond election and cover various aspects of that we need to be aware of.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I think everybody knows that the council passed in the not the immediate last meeting, but the meeting before that passed. Gave authority to proceed with a bond election, which includes 3 major components: street projects, the animal shelter project, and parks projects. So I have passed out some information to everybody. Hopefully you've got everything that Judy and I passed out. So there's 3 pages that are stapled together, single pages. Those, you should see one that's labeled legal and ethical guidelines for bond elections, and then one that's labeled tips for sharing bond information, and one that's labeled campaign signs. And I'll go over those in some small detail here in just a minute. And then also a page that's printed in color that says 2026 bond program on the bottom of it, and ABC over to the right-hand side. Does everybody have all of those pages? Okay. So the one that's in color there that shows the propositions A, B, and C, that was put together by the city. It is factual information about the bond projects, what they are, when the election is, and when there's an estimated tax impact estimate of the entire value of the bond projects. applied to an average Saginaw home. So you'll notice there's some URL or website sites at the top and bottom of that page. That is also a city website that will have factual information posted to it. Yeah, I'll stop there. Is there any questions about that? So this page, you'll be able to, you can search it by two different URLs. There was one is, or the main one is SaginawBond2026.org. You can also search Saginaw2026bond.org. The city went ahead and bought both of those just in case there was any confusion about what the actual site was. There may be some additional information that's posted up to it as we get closer to the bond. Of course, you'll note that we have early voting dates and election day voting date on there. So are there any questions about that page? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if this is related to the pay specifically, but when, do you know when the committee meetings are gonna start?
The committee meetings for
For the bond committee?
the bond committee?
Or is there gonna be a new bond committee formed
Well,
from the last
so
one?
there won't be a new bond committee as in the one we held like in 2024 to over
Yeah.
2025. That's sort of that information and that work preceded the bond election. So there will be, I'm sure, some more discussions, perhaps some town hall meetings. We're going to try to put out as much educational information about all of these bond propositions as we can. And so we're working on that right now. We don't actually have dates set yet, right?
That is, we did have dates penciled in, but due to some conflict of scheduling, we have, Lee and I, we were going to talk today about finalizing those dates, but we were kind of busy, but we're going to get on that tomorrow. So those town hall meetings will be held across the street at the new senior center, Longhorn Room, and that's going to be all recorded as well, so the community could also be engaged with that in case they miss those. But each proposition is going to have its own meeting. So the first meeting will be roads, the second meeting will be parks, and the third one will be the animal shelter, and then the last meeting we're going to have will be all three. So
Is the mayor running all three of those meetings?
that it's going to be staff led because it's informational, but the mayor will if his schedule aligns, he'll be there. And we always do a notice of quorum, which is
Yeah, they had that today for the coffee.
yeah, we did it today for the coffee, public notice of quorum, and you're also a board as well, so we have to do a public notice of potential quorum for this board as well. So that's why we have to work on different schedulings just to make sure we're not interfering with anything across the street.
Does that answer your questions?
Yes, we're not doing a committee then.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
All right. I know a question probably on all of y'all's minds is what can you do or what should you do as a member of this board? And the answer to that is whatever you'd like to do as an individual. We have bond attorneys, and they have advised us as employees and the council members, and I'll pass this information on to y'all too as an entity of the city. And so the attorneys have advised us that you cannot advocate while acting as a body or when using city resources. So you cannot advocate for or advocate against any of these propositions under those conditions. So acting as a body like today, right now, or while using city resources. So what you can do as individuals is to advocate on your own time and with your own resources for or against any of these propositions. And you can still be identified. I mean, you can't, it's almost impossible not to be identified as a council person, an animal shelter member, a board member, or even a city employee, but you need to be careful that that you make it clear that you're not speaking for the city or for the advisory board as a whole. So, there's a number of tips that I would suggest you read through there on the tips for sharing bond information page. If mainly what we will do as employees is we will remain as completely factual as we can about any information or any questions that we might answer. So we can tell people what the propositions are about, what's involved in them, how the decision was made, elements of the costs and all of that, that sort of information, any kind of informative, factual information can we put out. And that's, again, that's what this page does and what that site will do. If you choose to do anything else, just remember that you're acting as an individual. Doesn't take away your Fifth Amendment, your freedom of speech rights, at all, but you cannot identify yourself as acting for the city or for the advisory board. Oh, any questions about that? There's some procedural information here on campaign signs, and that's something important. If you, they follow basically the same rules as any other campaign sign for somebody running for public office. If you decide to distribute any sort of sign, just make sure that it follows these specifications, and there's some specific information that has to be included on that sign if you had them printed up. And then the placement of them, they cannot be in highway easements. They'll probably be removed because it's illegal to put them in highway easements. And if you put them on private property, you need to make sure that you have arranged ahead of time with the owner or person in control of that private property before posting one on private property. Anything about signage? All right. And then the final page, I'll let you read the legal and ethical guidelines. Essentially, again, this has some specific things, but you can sum it up, again, that you can advocate for or against, you cannot advocate for or against acting as a body or a member of the body in connection with anybody else on the board. And you cannot use city resources to do that, but you can advocate for or against any of these propositions on your own time with your own resources. So, any other questions?
So I have a quick question. I know the 501c3 had approved to make some signs or have some signs printed up. Is this the information that needs to go on the signs?
Yes, you can use this. You can reprint this information on the sign.
Okay.
Just exactly like it appears on that page if you want.
Okay.
The only difference is on that sign, it needs to have the qualifying information about who paid for it.
Right, paid for by 501c3.
Right. Anything else? Okay. Joe?
So no other questions for Lee? Okay, thank you, Lee. Okay, at this point, I believe we're to public comments, and we don't have anyone here from the public, I don't believe. Okay. So at this point, I believe we will adjourn the meeting.
Joe, I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, meeting's adjourned.
What time is it?
Little housekeeping stuff, if y'all will bring me your binders, and if you have any trash or anything, make sure you place it in the trash can or bring it to me.